So this is Micah describing why he's a better player than Gary Neville, or certainly for a season he's a better player in his eyes.
Let's get the elephant out of the room. I was a better player than you. Come on.
The big elephant.
I was there, wasn't I? I was better than you for about a season.
For a season?
The quiz is over now. Let's get serious. You weren't better than Gary.
That's some things I was. Of course I was.
As a package.
Yeah, but he was in a great team. I was playing with Sobieski and David Somé when I
probably...
Exactly.
But they'd be saying the same about playing with you.
And it's all a bit rough and tumble, a bit fun, and then Roy just casually sort of says, "You weren't a better player than Gary." And at which point the atmosphere changes completely, right? And they get a close-up on Mike. I said, "Of course I was. In some parts of the game I was." Yeah. It's very defensive, and there's the humour goes out of him completely. He says, "No, you weren't a better player than Gary." And then he describes why, right? Which is lovely because he says, "Well, yeah, but in certain facets of the game." He says, "You weren't a better player than Gary." He just keeps telling and then he says, "Yeah, but look, I was playing with people like he's playing on a great team. Yeah, I was playing with people like Sobieski and David Samel.
Yeah.
Keane goes, "Yeah, but they say the same thing about playing with you," which is one of the best put downs.
Yeah.
Right? It is so funny. You can't get out of that. There's no comeback from that.
No,
you've been done there.
The thing with Roy Keane, I really like Roy Keane. He rubs some people up the wrong way, but he did it all, and he was a genuinely world-class player.
Yes,
he was a fantastic footballer, Roy Keane, in his time, and he played for a great team, and
won everything.
He won everything, and the sort of you're just doing your job. That the sort of standards he set himself, that occasionally sound like a parody. That's how he played, and Souness was a little bit like that as well. He gave no quarter, and I believe him when he says that stuff. Because you read biographies of his, teammates, and they're like, Roy was fucking mad. Like he didn't celebrate stuff, and cause he just thought we should be doing this anyway. Like I read a piece in 442 about the last league title Liverpool won prior to the Jurgen Klopp era in 89-90.
Okay,
and that Liverpool team was so used to winning, and Liverpool as a club and as an institution was so used to winning. I think Steve McMahon said we didn't really celebrate. We had a few beers that night, but it was all about winning it in 1990-91, which obviously they didn't do. It was Arsenal won the title that season, and then they didn't win it again for another 30 years. But at that point, those players hadn't realised that they were on the downward part of the curve, and they were never gonna. It was another team's time to shine and all this kind of stuff. And so with Roy, when he does say that stuff and he sets what seemed to be impossibly high standards, I think, but I remember what you were like. So I sort of think, fun. And he's really funny as well.
Yes, I think that's the bit that listening to. So this is either, I can't remember what era this is. So this is either the overlap or this is Just Stick to Football. I can't remember which one it is because there's sort of a blur between those two shows. But listening to the Just Stick to Football stuff that he does, him and Ian Wright have this beautiful friendship, and Ian can call him on stuff, and Roy will then go into the character of Roy, and then eventually come back and start laughing. But there are bits in that where you hear about him as a person. So there's a bit the other day where every time, because I think they record that up in Salford or Manchester, and every time Ian Wright just goes up to Roy Keane's house for tea. They don't go out somewhere or whatever. He just pulls up. He's like, he's my mate, isn't he? He's my mate. I just drive up there, and Roy's in, and we have food. It's great. And he said the same about when Solskjaer got sacked. Roy Keane and his wife go on holiday to Norway, and Ollie's like, well, yeah, but I live in the middle of nowhere, mate. You're probably not going to make it out. You just enjoy Oslo. And then all of a sudden there's a ring on the doorbell. He's hired a car and driven out just to spend the day with his mate. And you're like, you're a good egg. I like you.
Well, we talked before about they can only take the piss this badly because they're obviously mates. And like
Yeah.
look at Micah Richards' career. You know, he had a great career. You know, and excelled at a very young age. I then looked up Samel and Sobieski. They had good careers. It wasn't like they were bad players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Micah is way younger than you think he is, though.
Yeah.
He's only bloody 35 now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's nuts, isn't it? It's but yeah, he played for England, Micah. I mean, it's difficult. It is difficult to have a career as good as Roy Keane's. Yeah, he was playing for Man City when he was 17, I think.
But that comeback, they say the same thing about playing with you. Right?
Yes.
It's so funny because it's absolutely bang on the minute, isn't it?
I read. I listened to Jason McAteer, I think it was, talking about the falling out that Roy Keane had with Mick McCarthy in 2002 in Saipan.
Sapporo, yeah.
And they don't like each other, and they haven't got on for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think he probably did intimidate his teammates. He was also the best player. I remember I did a live show once with Clinton Morrison.
Oh wow.
Clinton was there when it all kicked off. I said, "What were you doing there, Clinton?" He said, "I was hiding because I didn't want him to pick on me." But it's like, well, I watched that Jonathan Davis documentary, and he was talking about players having an edge and not necessarily being, I suppose, a nice guy.
Yeah.
I think it is difficult to win a Champions League title and to win a Premier League title and to play for your country if you are, I think you have to have a bit of an edge, and I think top elite level sports people are selfish.
The other week with Cornell, and everyone's commented on what great company he was and what a nice bloke he is, and he is. But he was saying that he would have to work himself up to be a nasty bastard. Because, some players just can switch it on, and some players it obviously takes longer, but you have to be ruthless on the field. There's when I had my round ball is bad, oval ball is good mentality, which I had for a long time, right? Before doing this podcast, really. The one that always stuck in my mind was the one when Roy Keane's getting pulled back from the referee and he's incandescent about something, and that became that was a football thing for me, right? Look at this how footballers behave, which is bullshit, right? In any sport where it means that much and it's that important, that's going to happen. Doesn't matter what the sport is, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's hockey, netball, fucking cross country. Doesn't matter what it is, right? And he cared so much about it that he did lose his rag. He did get cards all over the shop. He did do stupid things on the field sometimes. But like you said, I mean, what you can't take away from him is what a fucking footballer he was.
Yeah. Scott said an interesting thing to me before we did the live show. He said I was a really different person once I crossed the white line. And I think we might have talked about it on the pod, Bubs, where you said, yeah, I was too, and that's the point of the white line. Because if you were like that on the wrong side of the white line, you'd be dump tackling people in Tesco.
You'd be an absolute maniac. Yeah.
You'd be a maniac and you'd be in prison.
Yeah.
But the whole point of a sport having laws and rules, and it is different. Yeah, well, can't be a crash ball specialist in Asda.
The doc's on boxing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you can't switch that off when you leave the ring, you're in serious trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got to be able to turn that on and
That's
off.
some people can't, and they end up in serious trouble.
Yeah.
But I just love that. And then Micah takes that in good, because it's like when you sometimes you'll get a heckle on stage that is better than your punchline. And you just have to roll with it. There's no point trying to go back to the punchline. You just got to give best and say, fair play.
That's good.
That is very funny. Yeah. Which is not to encourage people to shout out, because it's a real pain in the arse then when people... Because I would say 99% of heckles are shit.
Agreed.
Yes.
But you will get the 1% that is very funny and well timed.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how often when you've had about 5-6 pints, you think you're in the 1%.
You think you're funny. I
And
know
you
what
might
would
be funny.
now.
You might be the funniest bloke of all your mates.
Oh, absolutely,
or the funniest girl amongst all your friends.
But there's a huge difference between being the funniest person sitting around a table and interrupting someone who's created a piece of art.
Yeah. But it's also low level. Like when you're at a gig, you think it's hilarious shouting stuff out. And with a good heckle, I'll repeat it on the microphone because probably only the people sat around that person can hear it.
Sure.
So it's just a pain in the arse otherwise.
Yeah.
If it's a bad heckle, which they invariably are, it's just annoying. Just puts the comic off and pisses the people off that sat around him.
Agreed.
But yeah, sometimes it is a fucking.
Sometimes it nails it. Yeah.
I would never do it. I've never shouted out at a gig,
Even when I used to go and watch
gigs.
Oh, absolutely not. No, I barely do it at our gigs.